All right, so at this point, you should now have these unordered lists added into your code. I used H2 for my headings here, and then used an unordered list for the next chunk down here. Now remember, if you want to change the type of list that you have, if you want to have squares, if you want to have something else, you can always use that type attribute to do that. So here, if I wanted to change it to squares, and if I wanted to change this one to be something else like a circle, again, I could do that by using those attributes. So we don't need to do that here, but just remember that those attributes are an option with your ordered and unordered list. So now we're going to move forward and we're actually going to look at background color and links. So here, remember the background color attribute we learned back in Unit 1. So we used BG color, and then inside of these quotations, we could put either a 6-digit hexadecimal code or the words for one of those standard 16 colors. So BG color equals red, something like that. What we're going to do now is we are going to actually add in a background image. So while you can always use a color, you can also use an image in the background of your web page. So here, you're going to use what's called the background attribute. And just like the body tag used the background color attribute, the background attribute also goes on the body, because this is something we want applied to the entire body of our document. So here we're going to have the background attribute, and then we're going to, instead of having a color inside of these quotations, we're actually going to have an image file that we have loaded in from somewhere. So here, you'll notice if you go to my classroom website right now, there's a picture called grayback.jpg. So if you go to my classroom website, download this image and put it into the same file folder as this file, this HTML file, you'll be able to load this in. So what I'd like you to do is download this picture and then add in this image as a background image. So I have grayback.jpg. So what this is saying is change the background of the body to be this particular picture. So now if I save and I run, what you will notice is you can see that it's a slight gray, kind of stony looking background. It's very subtle, but there's a change. That image is now the background of my web page. So if I would take that out and I can show you kind of what it looked like before, if I run it again, you can see this is the white background. There's the image. You can see the image is very subtly there, but it does improve the look of that website. So again, we're using the background attribute, and inside of those quotations, we're putting the name of an image that is saved in the same file as this HTML document. So we can add that in. Now, the last piece we're going to look at in this unit is something called hyperlinks. And in order to use a hyperlink, we have to use something called the anchor tag. So this is a new tag. It has a variety of uses, but one of the most common uses for it is to actually just create a link to another location. Now, we've talked about a couple different links. We can link to another page in the same site. We can link to a location within the same page. We can link to an external page, and we can link to email links. So this is what we're going to focus on with the last part of this unit, is really just looking at how do we add in these different types of links. And today we're just going to focus on the link within the same website. So we have this anchor tag, it's just A, and we surround the A with anything that we want to create and turn into a link. So that can be a text, that can be an image, that can be some other form of multimedia, but if you want something to be clickable and become a link, you're going to put these anchor tags around them. So the general syntax for this is you'll have the anchor tag surrounding what you want to be the link. So this link text is just the clickable word or phrase. And again, you can put anything else in here. You can put an image tag, you can put multimedia, you can put anything you'd like. And then this href part is really what's important. This actually stands for hypertext reference. And this is where we put the URL that we want to link to. So this is where we put the full address of the web page or the location where we want our web page to go. So when we click on this link, where do we want to go? We want to go to this particular URL we put inside our href attribute. So this is the general syntax for how we create an actual hyperlink. Now there's 3 really important tag attributes to start. We're just going to focus on the href one because that specifies the URL of the linked page we are trying to go to. But Later on in this unit, we'll also use something called a name that gives a name to a particular link that then makes it a destination that can be linked to. And then we can also use the type attribute to specify the type of file or link document that we are linking to. So for right now, we're going to focus on the href attribute that goes inside that anchor tag, but we are also going to look at that name attribute pretty shortly later on in the unit. So what I'd like you to do is you're going to add this paragraph right after this second unordered list. So I can see here I have this unordered list. What I'd like you to do is pause the video and add in this particular paragraph, because that's where we're actually going to start adding in those links. So pause the video and add that in. Okay, so now if you run your program, what you should have, if you save it and run it in Chrome, is you should have this last paragraph added in after that second unordered list. So you have that now added in, and what we're going to do is around the word desert plants, we're going to add a link. So before you add this in, I want to talk through a little bit about what this line of code is actually doing. So here it has the anchor tag surrounding desert plants. So what you're going to see is that's going to become an underlined, different colored piece of text. It's going to become an actual clickable link. And then when we click on desert plants, it's going to link to this particular page here. So it's going to link to desertplants.html. So in order for this to actually work, you need to go to my classroom website and download this file. If you don't, your link isn't going to work. It's going to not go to this actual web page. So go to my classroom website, download this particular file, and then you need to save this HTML file in the same folder as our plantworld.html file. So if you want links within the same web page to link to each other, you want them to go from one web page to another within the same site, you're going to need to have them in the same file. So you'll notice here it's a pretty short address. It's just desertplants.html. So it's saying this is in the same folder as my current HTML document linked to this particular web page. So I'm going to surround this, but make sure that you've paused the video and downloaded this file, or your link is not going to work. So I look in here and I find desert plants, and I put my A tag around it. So I have A href equals, and then I have desertplants.html. That's where I am linking to. And then I'm going to end my anchor tag after desert plants. So now I can see that around desert plants, I have now created a link. So if I save and run my program, what I see is that desert plants has now changed color. And because I've already linked this website into the same file folder as my Plant World website, when I click here, it'll actually access the Desert Plants webpage and take me to that webpage. So here, if you have it in the same file, again, it will work. It will link to the other file. So we can go back, we can try it again. You can see Desert Plants, click, it goes to that next web page. So make sure that this works. Your code should look like that. And then the last thing we're going to add in here is we're actually going to add in an email link as well. So here we're going to talk about, it's a pretty simple link. It's very, very similar to what we just did. The only difference is the href is a mail to address for email rather than a URL. So this is the actual email address we want to mail to. So again, it's the same concept. It's that anchor tag. We use the hypertext reference link attribute. We have our link text. The only difference is we have this address here after mail to . So we're going to add this in. This is our last paragraph. So add in this paragraph to start. And then what we're going to do around this plantworld@isp.com is we're going to turn that into an email link. So here around plantworld.isp, we're going to add in that anchor tag. So I have a href equals, and then I'm going to close it off. And then from here, I'm going to put that in there. So I have mail to plantworld@isp.com. And now if I save it and I run it, what you will notice when you run it is that click, and it will actually open up an email in your default email. So test out all those links, make sure they work, and then we'll move on to the next video.